What are we up to this morning? Basically what you're looking at here is I think it's a 1988 or thereabouts 20 horsepower Evinrude Johnson. And what we're going to do is upgrade this from a 20 to a 35. So what you need to do in short is obviously replace the carburetor with a carburetor with a larger throat facing the intake manifold, and you also need to replace or bore out your intake manifold. In my case, I've got a replacement for it with a matching larger orifice that matches the 35 horsepower carb. So the job itself is pretty straightforward. Remove carb, remove intake manifold, remove the intake manifold is connected to this bit right here, so you remove that. And then when you put everything back together, you've got to resynchronize the carburetor, which we'll go over later. So like I said, pretty straightforward. Let's get to it. First step is to remove the carb. So these are 1/2 inch. Okay, butts up against it. You gotta take the other one out. Oops. You're going to drop one of these nuts, so just make sure you're not doing this in a lake. If you're doing it on the lake, make sure you got a way to catch one of these nuts if they drop. So they got built-in washers. You can use that in your cowling. This should come right off. That. And this is where the difference is between the two orifices. You see how this one's restricted? The 35 has this board right out. So now you just got to take some fuel hoses off. Off. Let that come off. There we go. Okay. I'm going to have to replace this one, so I'll just cut that carb off. Okay, then you're going to have to take the intake off. The intake is some 7/16 bolts and a few nuts. None of these were on especially tight. There's one troublesome one. It's a flathead and it's on the right hand side. You probably can see it in the picture right here. Hopefully that one doesn't give us trouble. Come on. Okay, got one here. Now, if you're doing this upgrade, you don't need a new intake necessarily, but you'll need to be able to bore out this intake if that's what you're doing. And you should, I think you bore out to this size, but we'll be able to confirm that. Okay, so I've taken all the nuts and bolts off, except, come on, I guess I better cut that. There we go, let's see if that helps. Should come off. There we go. Okay, these are all off except the flathead, and of course I don't have a flathead on me. Hang on. Alright, I'm back with a flathead, and I gotta get this bad boy out. Let's hope this doesn't cause me trouble. There we go. Phew. I don't know why they made that one a flathead. Or I don't know why this one's like this, but anyway, that's what they did. Okay, so we're not reusing this intake, so you don't need to worry about it not bending it, but just be cautious anyway. So this should, did I get every screw? Yeah, it should come off. Should come off. There we go. Good. Should now come right off. Like so. Sort of. There. And you can inspect your reeds while you're in here. Everything looks good. If you cared to, you could take the reeds off, have a look. I'm not going to. I like the look of this right now. So I'm gonna go get myself a little razor blade. And, oh, maybe this will come right off. Ooh, look at that. So obviously, you're gonna need a new gasket, intake manifold gasket if you're doing this. So let's clean that off. Actually, this is pretty clean. All right, so we're back at this. There's a couple of things that I've taken off, but don't mind it. One mention though, if you have manual start, and you've got this bracket here, like this, this bracket will not interfere with upgrading the intake. But if you've got the electric start, which I'm installing, you're gonna have to take it all off to put the intake and the manifold on. So just beware of that. Okay, you'll need an intake manifold gasket. And looks like it goes on like so. Like that. And then you need the new intake manifold. I'm gonna clean this thing up before I put it on. And you can see, check out the size of one intake manifold versus the other. Kaboom. Big difference. Okay, slightly cleaner. Yeah, it's kind of gummy still, but whatever. Okay, so put this on. Oh. Okay, well, anyway. Put this on. There we go. Take these bolts off. Okay, goes here and here. Let's see here, what have I got? One of these. Interesting that these aren't. Okay, another one of these. Another one of these. Go. Is there one more? This bottom. There we go. So let's tighten these up. The right ratchet, the right socket. I think I need 7/16. 1/2 inch. 7/16 looks like. Okay, there we go. There. There. Oh, there's one more too. Did I cross thread that? Fucker. Yeah. I mean, these are, I'd say, wouldn't go to town on them, but tight. There. 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 One more. Not that it really matters, but I think I'll this come off. Yeah, maybe I'll use the other gasket. This one looks, should I just leave that on there and let that sleeping dog lie? Oh dear, why'd you do it? There we go, came off. Okay, I don't like the look of that one. We'll use this one, it's cleaner. Yeah, that looks fine. There, that's better. Okay, what was I doing here? Okay. And then this crazy flathead. Oops, screwdriver. There we go. It's good. And a couple of bolts up here, I guess. Is that right? I think so. Again, though, I wouldn't mind having washers. I'm gonna grab some washers. This is really bothering me. Oh, look, washers. Is it long enough? No. This one long enough? Get a washer. Yeah, just made me feel better. I have a washer on there. You know. Okay, let's go find another washer. Well, oddly, I guess they don't. I'm gonna go look for them though. Okay, intake's back on. So this is where I've made the mistake a few times. Really have to be careful not to put screws in and then not tighten them, because then you forget about them. So you either have to have a pattern that you're following or tighten the screws down when you're working on them. Don't think you're going to remember to come back. Sometimes you don't. Okay, so these are good. This is good. This is good. This is good. That's good. That's good. That's good. This is good. Okay, so at this point, we should reconnect that line, and I can't remember where that goes. Top of the carb, I think. Where'd it go? Where's that line? Is that one on a... Good. How are you doing? Where are you guys going? Ah, this thing. This word? Yeah, I guess so. I guess this is the... Is this... Shit. Does that look right? You have to look at my video footage here. That doesn't look right. No, I'm pretty sure that's not right. No. Is it? I'm gonna go back and look at footage. Okay, I look back at the footage. So here's the difference. This is a tiny fitting. This is a larger fitting. Right here, you can see the difference. So we're gonna have to figure that out. It connects to this primer switch, so yeah, anyway, we'll figure that out later. No big deal. I'll just hook a part of the carb line, the larger line, onto here for now, and we can deal with the rest later. Happen to have some fuel line here. There we go. This would be an awkward spot to get to later, so. There we go. Cut that off. There. Okay. So I'll figure that out later. Maybe I can just leave that dangling. And now I can get back to putting the electric starter together, which I won't film for now. One more bit to film. Almost forgot to do this, but basically, let me see if I can get a better angle. I've got to reconnect the, come on. So spring this forward, and then back here, you got to put it back in the hole. I'll show you where that is. Right there. So make sure it's easy to do that right now, a bit more cumbersome later. And that pretty much sets you up. Okay, a little curveball in my plan. This is my new 35 horsepower carb, and it came off a motor with electric remote start. So it had a an electric primer of some sort, which did not have this little nozzle at the top of the carb throat, this little thing. So I've popped that out of this one using a punch. I put that there, that's what it looks like there. It's a press fitting, and I think what I'm going to do is just drill another hole in my new carb in the same location, right there, of the same circumference, and then tap this in and maybe put some sealant in and around it if I need to. So that should give me something that I can properly squirt using the manual primer. All right, so I went, started, I used my punch to punch a hole in the top of this 35 horsepower carb, and then I gradually, here's my hole, this is the fitting that's going to go in there. I gradually worked up to 532 in size, which is still a bit tight. So I've kind of manhandled it a little bit to make it wider. It still doesn't fit. I'm going to put this in the freezer for maybe 10 minutes and shrink it ever so slightly. Maybe heat this up and then put the two together, and I'm going to tap it in using this fitting right here because I don't need this anymore. So I'm going to put this one inside this one and then use the hammer to tap this press fitting right into the throat of the carb. Should work really well. So what I did was as you saw, I drilled the orifice, and then I put this in the freezer for 10 minutes, and then I lubed it up, slipped this fastener that I happen to have nearby, the barb fitting, over top of it, and then just used my hammer to tap it in, and it worked like a charm. So here you go. Voila. That's not going anywhere, and it's a good tight fit. Okay. All right. So got my carb ready. It's cleaned. Next step is to put this bad boy back on. Okay. Where are the screws? Are they inside? Yep. So screw on that side. Come on, get on there. There's 1, 2. All right, while you're watching me put those 2 carb nuts back on, I could have also removed that manual or that choke assembly at the front end of the carb, and I may still do that, but in the meantime it really does no harm. It's just not going to be used. It'll always remain wide open. Okay, just gonna move that forward, turn that on. There we go. Nice and snug. There we go. That's nice and snug. There. Carb is on good and snug. Okay, next, this line, I think, does it go under and in? Maybe. Under and in like that? Sure. There we go. There. You could put a fastener on there. I'm pretty sure you don't need one. And then this is supposed to go. It's tricky here. I can't remember where this goes anymore. Oh, let me see. So one of these goes into, anyway, I'll figure that out later, how to connect that. But for the time being, I need to connect this. All right, turns out I made a mistake in this step. So as you watch me put on this little metal link, vertical, I think it goes this way. That little vertical metal piece, I actually attached it to the wrong
plastic
That's the way it was here.
nub at the bottom. You see how I'm pushing that in right now? That's the wrong one. It should be
around.
flipped the other way with the two ends facing left of the screen. And there is a second plastic nub at the bottom that allows you to do exactly that. I'll show you a little clip at the end of the video of what I mean, but I just wanted to mention that right now. What I'm doing right now is slightly incorrect. It might still work, but it does, that arm ends up being at a little bit of an angle. Hope this helps.
So as I was just mentioning, this is the correct way to do it. So this one was already facing the right way, and where I reconnect is here, not here. And that means each end faces the left side, here and here, and it clips in, and as you can see, it's nice and vertical.
There we go. And put a bit of oil silicone spray on that. Resistant silicone spray in here. There. Something like that. And this goof, and have a fuel line here. It's gonna go here. It was under the carb on the other side. Carb on, but anyway, it's okay. That's good. There, down here. This is the line that's going to go to the fuel pump. So put that like so. Draw that back here. Something like this. Put that in here, I suppose. Is there room? I think so. Do you want to do that? That's good, right? You gonna rub? Yes, don't do that. You don't want that fuel line rubbing on anything. So maybe stick it under here and into here and here like this. So we can cut it right here. Good. Okay. And then the next one, that's going to go into here. Like so. It's annoying. This is going to go. Okay, so the final step is to synchronize it. Now, I got lucky, and I don't need to synchronize it, and it's probably because, actually, I don't know why, but I got lucky, and I'll show you how you synchronize. Not very complicated. So what you want to do is look inside the throat, and at max throttle, that plate at the back should be horizontal. And as you can see right now, it is perfectly horizontal. Closed, horizontal. And if it's not horizontal, you need to play with this adjustment screw right there and move this rod back and forth until just the right adjustment is achieved, so that at full throttle you got that back plate fully horizontal, like that. I'm good. I don't need to make any adjustments, so I'm ready to test this out soon.
And now that I've got all these hoses connected, I can make a couple of comments here. I ended up using a 7/64 because I've got an aftermarket primer pump here. It's a 7/64, and that is compatible with this, as well as compatible with this nub here. You just have to put some silicone oil on the end of it as you push it in. And then I was able to use, what is this, 5/32 maybe? No, this looks smaller. Anyway, I did find a hose size that worked for this very small orifice here and the larger orifice at the bottom. I think it's not 5/32 because I think 5/32 is this one here. It's one size down from 7/64, whatever that is. I don't see any. Oh, it's the stuff with the stripe on. So primer hose. It was a bit difficult to get it over this brass piece, but that's only because this is an older version of the intake.